Hello, this is a Brave Knight Mercenary spotlight on Nerua. Nerua is a succubi who has the ability to enter other people's dreams and manipulate the contents of their dream. She could only intervene in another's dream while she herself is asleep, and she doesn't have full control of her power. She took Velfern's offer to join the Obscurus Octos to further train her ability. Nerua's companion is Nevoke, and he is Nerua's younger brother. He takes care of his sister, and when she opted to join the Obscurus Octos, he joined with her. His specialty is analyzing dreams. I'll briefly go over Nerua's skills, gameplay style, and provide some of my opinions on her. I won't be going over the details of her skills, but just the general parts of it. I linked the Brave Knight Encyclopedia in the video description where you can easily read on her stats and skill values. Nerua's first skill is Deep Sleep. This is a conditional skill that has various outcomes based on whether or not the enemy is attack interference immune. If the enemy is not attack interference immune, then the enemy is put to sleep. Enemies that are asleep are inoperable and will receive amplified damage when they are hit. Units that are hit will wake up afterwards. Attacks that deal 0 damage or HP consume skills will not wake up units. DOTs, however, can wake up units if it does deal damage. A final thing to note is that while Deep Sleep has an exception where it says it ignores Flame Guards and Debuff Reflect, it actually doesn't seem to work, or it only applies to the additional damage. Settle and Grandhilder cannot be put to sleep. Now, if the enemy is immune to attack interferences, then they will not be put to sleep, but they will take a lot of barrier ignoring additional damage based on Nerua's attack. Nerua's second skill is Lasting Crit Ability Boost. Nerua begins the battle with a stat enhancement that boosts her crit stats by a flat amount and further boosting it every turn. Nerua's third skill is Permanent Stats Weakening Immunity. Nerua is permanently immune to stats weakening debuffs. Nerua's awakening skill is Survival. Before normal attack, Nerua gets a heal buff for 12 turns that heal a portion of her max life every turn and provides a boost to her defense stat. At plus 10 and below, the defense boost is 100%, but at plus 11 and above, the defense boost is actually 150%. Having more than 100% defense is helpful against Celia, who has the ability to reduce stats with her aura even if a unit is stats weakening or debuff immune. Nerua is a mage focused on disabling certain units while outright destroying others. Her first skill is designed so that she can put various units to sleep, but if they carry immunities to sleep, then she will instead deal massive amounts of damage. Nerua's constantly growing crit stats along with her insane modifiers of up to 600% on her additional damage makes her one of the most powerful mages in the game with just raw damage. Her conditional attack gives her a hybrid role as a disabler and as a tank nuker, but she carries a few problems. Nerua's damage does not ignore defense, so she is walled by 100% defense units. She is also easily walled by death guards or any other guard where damage is not a factor. Furthermore, Nerua is incredibly fragile and boasts one of the lowest base health values in the game. She has some defensive properties with her heal that provides her a lot of defense, but there are a lot of ways for her to still die with 100% defense. Nerua's AoE range is also incredibly powerful, and she sports a 3x5 tile range at plus 12 and above. This tile range gives her immense vertical pressure regardless of the lane that she is at. Nerua's preferred runes are percentage assault runes. Nerua does not need to run crit runes since her second skill provides insane natural crit growth as the fight progresses. Focusing on improving her attack stat is a key to improving her damage. I'll go over what Nerua counters. Nerua is a great option to destroy Mamonir's first energy guard. With the right conditions, Nerua could even put a heavy dent on Mamonir's second energy guard or outright destroy it. Nerua just obliterates any non-100% defense units with her additional damage. Some units that she could outright destroy is Velfern, Grandhilder, Nartis, Revithia, Belieth, Alec, Asmode, Bane, Seer, and Floria. Nerua's sleep is also very powerful. Attack interference is strong in the circumstances where it can cause an enemy to waste their turn. Nerua will deal far less damage against units that are susceptible to her sleep, but the payoff might be bigger. This also gives her some leeway to deal with units that have 100% defense or guards but aren't immune to attack interferences. Nerua can apply sleep onto Valze, Yuri, Eden, Albion, Kaelin, Frisia, Orfina, Kali, Benshina, and quite a few others. I'll go over some Nerua counters now. Nerua carries various weaknesses, but the easiest of her weakness to exploit is her inability to deal with 100% defense units and her inefficiency to deal with non-energy guard based units. Levia, Susera, Kaelin, Lucius, and Arcan are a few examples. Sola is an interesting matchup, primarily because Sola provides all of her allies with attack interference immunity, which causes Nerua's additional damage to always trigger. Some units are weak to Nerua's sleep but have 100% defense, such as Eden or Orfina, but if Sola is providing her offensive aura to these units, then Nerua is out of options against them. Seto is also good at dealing with Nerua, as her defense boost from her heal cannot actually protect her against Seto's fixed damage counter. Nerua is also incredibly fragile and is the definition of a glass cannon. She has no survival abilities outside of the heal and defense once she attacks, so if she's hit at any point in round 1, she's likely gone. Her heal and defense can also be nullified, and conventional methods of bypassing defense such as fixed damage or defense ignoring attacks can easily kill her. Orphina is particularly good at this, but you also have the option of Seto, Eden, Belfern, and even Beliet's skeletons. Nerua also has a lot of difficulties with Helga. Helga provides her allies with both debuff immunity and 100% defense for a short duration, so if the enemy Helga is popped late in round 1, and your Nerua moves afterwards, she is liable to do nothing in her attack. Last but not least, Rafithia can cleanse her allies from sleep since it's the attack interference immunity. So some synergies with Nerua. Nerua is incredibly fragile, so giving her a second chance at life with Galania is highly preferred. Nerua is also a great option to be slotted into Sola teams because Nerua is a mage with great vertical coverage and can bust tanks fairly well. However, because of Nerua's base crit and attack stats are so high, she's actually a mage that works quite well outside of solo compositions. Warrior based compositions are aggressive but tend to get stuck on tanks like Mammonier. Nerua could be an interesting option to be inserted into those teams, granted you have to protect her. Nerua synergizes well with Celia because Celia drops the enemy defense, which can provide an opening for Nerua. Furthermore, Celia can also remove any Helga Blessing defense buffs on enemies before Nerua gets to strike. For protecting Nerua, utilizing taunt tanks to draw away any aggro from her is ideal. Granhilder is the best of the bunch right now due to her not being able to be nullified, but you can always utilize Seer, Caitlyn, or Bane as alternatives. Okay, so for my opinion, Nerua is a mage with some interesting concepts but glaring weaknesses. Her dual nature as a disabler and as a damage nuke is really powerful, and a 3x5 attack range gives her a lot of flexibility when it comes to attacking different types of forms. Sleep is a cool concept, but it doesn't come up often given the abundance of debuff immune or attack interference immune units in higher level arena, but when it works, it's really good. I personally think the enemy wasting their turns is one of the strongest things that can happen in your favor, but as I said earlier, it's not often that it happens. More importantly, her huge damage nuke is outright atrocious, and I've seen some situations where I could blow up a fully healthy plus 15 max rank boost Mammonier and bring her down to her final health with her Death Guard. Not entirely practical of course, but the fact that Nerua can consistently blow up Mammonier's first energy guard is already solid enough while potentially killing other units in her large AoE. Nerua's largest weakness by far is how relatively she is to defend against. It's been a while since we received a new unit that actually gets blocked by 100% defense units, but Nerua is one now. Her durability is also kind of paper thin, but given how much damage everything else deals in this game, it's not that big of a deal in my opinion. When faced against a plus 15 Valze, Nerua would tinker about as well as Belfern or Levia will. One question when it comes to using her is how she will fit in the solo composition. Mages are an incredibly competitive category, primarily legend mages, and I think she has a hard time competing against them for a spot. She could substitute for Celia, Belfern, or Levia in some situations, but she's definitely more niche than any three of them. She will definitely be a game changer for solo comps in World Arena, however. In terms of PvP overall, I don't see Nerua making a large splash in high level regular arena, but she is decent. She will be very strong in World Arena I'd imagine, and she's potentially a good unit for Guild War, but due to her fragility and how easy she is to block, she won't be that great in Guild War defenses or Underground Arena. In terms of PvE, she's a great unit for the Arcstar World boss given her barrier ignoring damage. Her overall raw damage makes her a great boss killer in various situations. So the question begs, should you build Nerua? My answer is that I'm a bit mixed on this one. You should definitely obtain her at the very least and play the Gate of Chaos. She's technically free to obtain after all. The drawback however is that this Gate of Chaos Season 3 is kind of a pain in the butt. It's a pretty tedious dungeon, even if you understand its mechanics. The dungeon is also a lot less free to play friendly this time around and will demand certain key units to truly shine, especially for boss runs. Nerua is a solid mage, even outside of solo comps. But if you're a new player and you didn't obtain Susera or Galania yet, then I would say that obtaining them is of higher priority over Nerua. At the very least, just try to obtain one copy of all three characters so that you have the flexibility of choosing who to build once you make that decision. Nerua is PvP ready at plus 12 where she gains her 3x5 tile range. This is very important for her consistency in arena. Anything below that is only just decent. Nerua feels like a conventional mage with her 3x3 tile, so if you plan to seriously use her, you need to invest the skill books into her. Anything above plus 12 improves her additional damage, which is great to have but not crucial, so you can slowly just build her up from there. Overall, Nerua paints a sign as to how new mages will operate. Mages are a tricky class to balance out because of their general slow-paced nature in a game that favors fast-paced openings. Many mages are also reliant on stigmas or various debuffs, and in a game where many relevant units have debuff immunity or can obtain it, the mages need another card in their sleeve. Nerua's conditional mechanics lend to interesting design, and I'm curious to see if future mages will be reworked with this philosophy in mind. As for aesthetics, Nerua is cool. CP characters are always interesting, and abilities that play around dreams and nightmares are always pretty creative and expressive. Anyways, thanks for watching my Nerua Mercenary Spotlight. Stay tuned for more. I'm going to try to make a guide for the Gate of Chaos Season 3, but because of how tedious it is to go through, I may approach it a bit differently, but we'll see. Thanks.